Hey, Carter.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Carter.
I see Joe, I see Linda, and I see Carter. I don't think we have a quorum yet, Joe.
And we have a number of members of the public as well. Jeffrey's with us 3 times. There must be a few people signed in as Jeffrey. We got Brian. I will rename you Brian.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, Ed. I think Joe's in transit, right, Joe? So we.
Sorry, I lost the connection.
Yeah, if this connection's unstable, if you just turn your video off and have the audio on, that sometimes allows it to.
Awesome. Thanks, Carter.
Good. Much better.
Oh, great. Michael, Brian, Ed, Linda, Susan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including me. You might be near a quorum now.
You didn't mention me. I'm here too, Michael. I think we have a quorum now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think we need 6 plus 1 for quorum.
Yes, I think I was just doing the same thing, just counting.
Mm-hmm.
Ritu said she's joining late. And Kathy Sullivan is not able to appear. I'll just start with the introduction, and then hopefully one more member will join before we. Can you hear me, Michael?
I hear you. Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right, great.
Good. Very clearly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Gallagher. I'm the chair of the Quality of Life Committee of Community Board 2. Our committee hears applications for street activities, street festivals. Here's Rocio, so now we have a quorum. Sidewalk cafe applications. We are sent street activity applications by the Street Activity Permit Office, which is required to receive community input for any street activity applications, and that's what this process is tonight. We'll hear each application in order that they appear on the agenda. Then we'll invite each applicant to speak on behalf of their application, tell the committee a little bit about the application, what it's for, what's involved, what you're asking for, whether it be a curb lane closure, a side reservation, something to the application. The committee will have opportunities to ask each applicant questions about their application. And after the committee is done asking questions, we'll ask if there's anyone here from the public who has any comments on each application as we go through them on the agenda. If members of the public can just address their comments to the committee or questions to the committee, we'll then follow up with the applicant if we feel the need after that point. After we've heard all of the applications, we'll then go into business session, at which point just the committee will discuss each application in order. Everyone is invited to remain for that portion, but it will only be the committee speaking at that point. Then the committee members will vote on each application to recommend approval or recommend denial. and then we will send our resolutions to the full board of Community Board 2, which meets the last Thursday of the month on Zoom, at which point the full board will then consider each of our resolutions and decide whether to approve adopt the committee's resolution or reject it. Let me see, I think that's everything in the course of how the meeting will work, and we'll get started in just a moment. I did want to take a moment today because it is our first meeting since one of our beloved members of the committee, Ellen Peterson Lewis, passed away. She was a valued member of this committee. She attended, she had exemplary attendance, and she really kept her focus on environmental issues and was diligent about pressing all of our applicants about how they intended to keep our environment healthy for future generations. So I'd like to just take a moment of silence to honor the memory of Ellen. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll start with our first application.
I'm sorry to interrupt with a very, very quick procedural question. Do we now are in a stage where SAPO is allowing street activities? Because I thought that was on hold.
It was on hold until the end of September. So we've reached out to SAPO about how they're moving forward for the next months and haven't heard a response back, but just the sign that SAPO affirmatively sent the community board these applications leads me to believe that these are possible to be held under whatever guidelines SAPO and the mayor's office are using for these applications. So we're just going to consider them in the regular course of our business and let SAPO and the mayor's office determine whether they proceed or not.
Thank you.
Sure. So first we have the distancing project, which is being put forward by the Meatpacking Business Improvement District to be held from September 23rd to September 28th, 2020 in Gansevoort Pedestrian Plaza. And I'm guessing that Jeffrey is here to speak on that application. So I am going to unmute you. Are you there, Jeffrey?
It's actually not Jeffrey, it's Evan. I'm not sure why I'm registered this way, but that is fine, no problem.
Thanks, Evan. Is Jeffrey here as well, or is it just you for this application?
Planning on just being me for this application, although I do see another Jeffrey here. Right, but I think he also, I think on another, oh, now there's three. Okay, this is getting too many, but no, I'm here. I'm moving forward with it. So is there a possibility to share my screen? I see that as an option. Can I go ahead with that?
I promoted you to panelist, so you can.
Okay, so if we're fine, I just wanted to.
Yeah, and I'll just.
Okay.
So you should be able to share it now.
All right, perfect. Can everyone see this now?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So the distancing activation is an event we are planning on hosting. The dates are actually the 28th of September through October 28th. What it is a ground installed mural, a piece of art on Gansevoort Plaza for a portion of Gansevoort Plaza for this month. The project is being led by Colossal Media. The artwork is designed by Shepherd Ferry Studios, and then the sponsor of this event is Stellar Artois AB InBev. Here you can see a site plan, so it's only taking up about 1/3 of the plaza, or even a little less to the west along 9th Avenue. It's a depiction of a woman in sunglasses, and the kind of project is relating to just kind of a piece of art, a splash of color on Gansevoort Plaza, celebration of New York, the activity in the neighborhood coming back to life, and just kind of something else for everyone to look at and see.
Evan, I'm sorry, is it a mural on the ground, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mural on the ground.
Okay, great.
So I'll get into some of those details in a moment. Here's another kind of vision of what it looks like on the ground for Gansevoort Plaza as a whole. Colossal has a long history of working in New York. Most of their work are these, hand-painted murals as advertisements and other art projects, all often with quite prominent artists. We're really excited to work with Colossal on this project. We think they do really great work, and think it will be a real asset to the neighborhood for the month of the activation. Some technical detail about this, as we said, it's a mural on the ground. It's going to be constructed on a 4-inch raised stage. We decided that was the best course of action in consultation based on our concerns about the Plaza cobble, as well as their previous work on the ground installations in Times Square and other locations. We're making sure that the stage has curb ramps to allow all full accessibility of the plaza during this event, even though it's slightly raised. And then again, as we said, we've looked at these materials, and the city is okay with the materials as they're set up based on this kind of historic precedence of them being used in other locations. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's a vinyl that would get kind of put down on the wood. Here we can kind of see the section view, the side view of a 2x4 network on the plaza itself, and then a layer of plywood from which the mural would be affixed. And then here on the side, this is the top view of that same. So you see the pedestrian access to the plaza, as well as the ramps onto the platform itself, and kind of the grid they're proposing to set it up in this manner. Obviously, COVID is a major issue currently, and so we just wanted to kind of broach that topic. As it kind of was talked about before, our understanding is that the city is allowing activations to occur. Activations can only occur on one plaza section at a time, and they can't occur on an open street restaurant project. Since this is on a plaza, this is the one plaza activation we're proposing during this time. Beyond that, some of the other concerns, the city has provided a COVID-19 event safety plan and checklist. The Colossal plans on adhering to this checklist of precautions. They have also, in addition, done work over the past couple months in New York City, and doing that, they have experience managing their team and their setup under these conditions. In addition, because this is a passive art project on the ground and not a kind of congregatory event, we're not anticipated to draw more than 50 people at one time, which is, from our understanding, the kind of SAPO threshold for an event being too small or too large. There's not an anticipated promotion of this project, again, to reduce the kind of crowd draw. It's more something that people will come across as they come to the neighborhood and appreciate and enjoy while they're there. And during this time, the bid is already engaged in a pretty rigorous signage campaign to remind people to wear masks and to keep socially distant. And then in addition to that, our public sanitation team will be on the ground through this, as they are through everything, making sure the tables are clean and sanitized, the streets are swept. And so some of those issues about sanitation are going to be resolved through that. And that is the presentation.
Thank you so much. And so is the idea that people will go up the ramps to look down at the mural?
So, I mean, the idea here is that, the raising of it is a requirement based on our concerns regarding the cobble. If it was on a plaza that wasn't paved with a different material, it would just be on the ground. Because it's on the cobble, we have to raise it up onto this superstructure. And so we do want to just continue the use of the plaza as close to normal as possible, which is, and so that therefore we also need to require access for it all onto the structure.
So that's for ADA accessibility, or anyone can walk up the ramps and then go look down?
Yeah, and it's only a 4-inch lip. So the idea is that most people could step onto it, but to make sure that there is access for all and differently abled people, that there is still this a ramp to get on.
Great. And then will there be, if a crowd does start to form, is there any way to mitigate that? Yeah,
we've seen a lot of people coming back to the neighborhood, not at the rate it was a year ago, obviously, but the mitigation here is is kind of oversight of the project. We have a sanitation team on staff. They're already trained to kind of politely ask people to move away or come back in a little bit later. That's too crowded. We also really have seen that people are pretty conscious of being in crowds and are going to kind of move to be in a level of comfort that they feel safe in doing it. And so I think by that, crowds are not likely to occur.
Evan, could you put the mural back on the screen?
Of course.
Is there any significance to the artwork?
This is the artist's design. I haven't spoken directly with the artist about what the kind of the content behind that is. We find it a really kind of appealing, colorful image, quite striking for the neighborhood, and so we're happy with that. We also worked, one thing that we did do and discuss with them is limiting any kind of, logos and branding. As you can see in this depiction, there is really no overt branding to this project, which we're happy about, because it really is kind of the art and the artist statement as opposed to the kind of the backing.
And hey, Evan, sorry, this is Jim Fitzgerald from Colossal. Do you mind if I chime in quickly on the
please,
art
go ahead.
element? So, hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time with us. Just wanted to quickly provide a little bit more illumination about the art concept here. So what we're looking at on the screen is kind of a more zoomed in mock-up of the actual art concept. But as Evan mentioned, this is something that Shepard Fairey, who's a very renowned street artist, designed for Stella Artois, and they've actually activated this concept in London's Brick Lane earlier this year. The intent of the concept is to create these visual circles that allow for safe public congregating, with the intent of, if you're a single individual or a couple spending time, you would congregate to the visual circles in the artwork. You can see in the mock-up the sunglasses represent circles here, but there's additional like bubbles throughout the artwork that basically provide this beautified, socially distanced congregation area. The concept was wildly well received in London, which is why they turned to us to try and activate this in New York in a safe manner, but in a manner that would allow some people to enjoy in a safe way. So yeah, that's kind of the conceptual aspect of the art piece, and one that we found to be a very exciting and sort of progressive concept that we wanted to get on board with.
Thanks so much. So there's no overt commercial message in it, but is there any commercial message in it at all?
Within the artwork, in the London version, the final London version, there was a very brief Stella-shaped chalice, which is their kind of, it's like the silhouette of their logo. And they owned the story on their digital channels, but that was really kind of the scope of the branded element of the activation.
And in the New York one, if I'm not mistaken, there is no or very small portion that acknowledges that. Is that correct?
Yes, and the only other element that alludes to branding is that Stella has a sort of an artistic asterisk element that is part of their brand image, and that is included almost as like a piece of jewelry on the woman in the London activation, and I imagine that might be included in the New York one as well.
And so Stella Artois will be publicizing this as hashtags or something that's been activated in New York, I imagine.
I would imagine so, yes, but we don't have a confirmation of their digital strategy around the campaign. But as I mentioned, the London activation, was passed around in the trades as a really well executed sort of public art installation in wake of the COVID crisis.
Great, thanks so much. Michael Levine, you have a question?
Yes, I have two very quick questions. Thank you. Very, very quickly. If I understand, the people will walk around it, not on it. That's my first question. Am I correct in understanding what I'm seeing? People walk around it, following the circles, but not on the artwork. Is that correct?
No, so the plazas would be fully open to people to walk on it. The purpose is that the raising is solely to kind of allow us to put this down, but otherwise we intend it to be used in a similar manner to the plaza would normally.
So explain the circles again. I got confused.
Oh, of course. The circles are placed throughout the artwork in a distanced manner that basically the circles are distanced in a way that follows social distancing guidelines. So it's basically outlining safe areas to congregate with, either individually or with a partner while sort of experiencing the artwork and experiencing the plaza.
And my second question, is this 24/7? Is it accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? What is your plan for that?
Yes, so this is installed on the ground in the plaza, and it's intended to be left as is through the length of the installation.
Thank you.
Of course.
And second. And Brian Pape has a question.
Yes, thank you. So there's not going to be any event or concert or anything like that on this low platform. Is that correct?
That is correct. No, through this application, there is no activity other than the statement of this art. And then in addition to that, the city will not allow another activity to take place on the plaza because there's only one activation per plaza segment during this current COVID situation. To say that no one is performing would probably not be true, as we've had a random jazz band turn up on the plaza here and there over the past couple of months. And so in that way, the plaza is accessible and open to anybody as it normally would. And, people love putting on a show.
Well, in regard to being open, I noticed that the 2 handicap ramps were down at the southern end.
Mm-hmm.
That meant that anyone approaching from the north end would be stuck. They would not be able to get up on that little platform. And I'm wondering, is that because you're going to have some kind of a regulated route from one end and then around the mural and then back out the same end that they came in? Is that the intent?
I'll let Colossal speak to that in a moment, but I also noticed that and agree with you that we at the Meatpacking bid would like, I think, to see an additional entrance at the north end for that reason, because it's not intended to be a kind of a cycle like that. I think there's just a conversation about where accessibility needs to be done from.
Yeah, this is Nicholas from Colossal Media. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we can adjust the locations of the ramp very easily. This was just an initial design, but I noticed you're right. We do have 2 on the right side. We can have 1 on the right side and 1 on the top left, or 2 on the right side, 1 on the top left, to make it more accessible from multiple directions. We can make that adjustment for sure.
Well, that would be a big improvement, I would think. And just one other note, that thank you for putting the stage detail image on the screen, which deviates wildly from the mural image, which has some sort of a diagonal or triangular form, and this has a rectangular one. And also the mural image went all the way to the curb and encompassed the planters along the curbing. So this platform diagram is inboard of the planters, and it is rectangular on the east, west, and north. So I wonder, it would seem that conforming the 2 images would be fairly important.
Right. Yeah. The original, like the triangular sort of pizza slice shaped diagram earlier in the presentation was an initial mock-up. And after doing a site visit, measuring the area, once we decided on, or once it was accepted that we were doing a platform and that we weren't able to paint directly onto the plaza, we needed to bring the platform inside the barricades, and this was the most economical shape. So you should consider the platform detail on this page and the other page with the 2-dimensional section cut. These are the most updated designs that incorporate the platform into the design.
All right. Well, thank you for that clarification. And then I'll just end with one more question on the northeast corner of that stage detail. There is a light gray line that's very close to that corner. That's not can someone on the sidewalk walk around that northeast corner of the stage without being stopped by a building or something like that, or a curb?
Yes. So that line, that faint line you're referring to, is actually the line that distinguishes the plaza, the DOT public plaza, from the city sidewalk. So that line is actually the start of kind of traditional, in the legal sense, a traditional sidewalk versus the plaza from the DOT perspective.
So it's all level. If you can,
right.
If you wanted to,
That's
you
correct.
can just go around it. Thank you.
Go all around.
Yeah.
And Rocio?
Thank you so much for taking my question. So my question is regarding the actual artwork. I see the colors on my screen, very muted colors. And I'm wondering if you have a rendition of the actual artwork not being placed on the schematic drawing. What does it really look like? I want to see the details. Are the colors going to be vibrant, or are they going to be muted the way it's shown on your presentation here?
I'm happy to step in on this one. The colors in the real life executed mural will be vibrant, bold colors. Yeah.
So why don't you have a picture so that we could actually see what it looks like? Because it's very muted and it's really hard to see exactly what it is that you're portraying, to me anyway. I don't know if anybody else has the same concern, but I want to see an actual, what it's really going to look like. It's going to be a bright red, it's going to be a bright yellow, and I want to see the colors. Do you have another picture that you can show us?
I certainly have the an updated artwork example that I can either share with you, Evan, or with someone. I have, I don't have it available to present via my computer, I guess, unless I'm given presentation.
And one thing, Rocio, a couple people in the chat, attendees have posted the links to the London version, which I think more accurately shows the colors. If you're able to click on one of those links, it'll show you the London version. And I guess, are those the same colors, anyone from Colossal, that are being used?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rocio. And now not a committee member, but a CB2 member, Donna Raftery, has a question. Let me see if you're muted. Hey, Donna.
Hi. So I had, you answered the bollards question. The one question I had, did you consider putting an angled piece of wood on the edge of all of it to create a ramp all the way around so that, you could gradually go up to the ramp from the cobbles? Because there are a lot of people just kind of go through this plaza with strollers, with bikes, with, everything. And so to have to step up unless you are in that one place, I'm concerned at that edge, it's going to cause people to go out into the street or up onto the sidewalk more to try to get around it, to go through the plaza.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think we're,
one
sorry,
thing.
Donna.
The other thing is just, are the tables still going to go on it that are usually there, or are they going to go somewhere else? Those are my two thoughts.
I think we're definitely in discussion about the best way to make the platform as accessible as possible. The conversation about the two kind of depicted on the south end indicate that there's still a little bit to be done there to kind of make sure it's buttoned up the way we'd like it to be. We definitely hear your comment on that, and we'll discuss it in further. To the second part, the tables are anticipated to still be on the plaza, whether or not they are on the circles. They do discuss the idea of people gathering, so it's still likely to be a situation where people will be able to sit. I think we do have to move the umbrellas just for the weight factor, but luckily, it's not as sunny anymore, so that might not be as much of an issue. And if we do move umbrellas, they would just be moved to kind of further east on the plaza where there's a lot of space for that still, because we're not at our kind of full plaza setup capacity considering COVID. So there is additional space on the plaza to put some furniture.
Anything else, Donna? And is there, yeah, that's all. Sorry, thank you. If anyone from the public is here to speak on this application, you can.
Joe, may I have another question, please?
Oh, sure. And but
you.
as I was saying, if anyone from the public does have any comments, they can raise their hand in the Zoom, and then after we finish, I'll get to the public comments. Yeah, please, Rocio.
Yeah, so I just read the article from the London. It's telling me that this mural is asking people to congregate to drink. So I'm thinking, what are you thinking about in New York? In New York, you're not supposed to drink outside. And so, you know, what is Stella thinking, that they're going to have people drinking in the street or what? What is the purpose of this?
You know, I think there's two different cultural contexts and also different COVID realities. You know, right now the city of New York is pretty strict, one, on plazas anyway about public drinking, as you make it very clear. And then two, you know, the city and state are pretty tight about where, you know, what you can buy alcohol wise and get with food. So I think we're definitely aware of that in this, and we don't see it as that same kind of promotion, that exact same way in London as it would be here in New York. And we've made that clear as we're building out this project, that it's much more about the art and this kind of the statement about social distancing than any idea about going out to drink.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan, have you spoken to Serafina, Cobra Coffee, the Chester, Sweet Green about this?
We have not.
And those are all adjoining businesses?
So at the moment, there are actually no adjoining businesses to the plaza. I guess the Chester, you could consider that up on 13th Street. The business that was located directly on the plaza, the two restaurants that were located directly on the plaza are now closed. Then Serafina and Sweet Green across the street are open, and we have not spoken with them.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the committee?
I had a quick question. You know, just given just following up on what Rocio was saying, given some of the responsibilities of the licensed establishments, you've got you know, Stella is promoting something that's linked to drinking, and I'm just concerned that that responsibility is going to fall onto one of the licensed premises in the area if people do end up bringing drinks there. Are you going to be posting anywhere that, you know, alcoholic beverages are prohibited in this?
That is already posted on all DOT plazas.
No, but I mean specifically, but they don't have installations promoted by Stella Artois, you know, in their, you know, that it's something very specific. And this is an ongoing issue, you know, in our community. It's something that's certainly changed. And I think there's been a lot of public education has really diminished a lot, but it is still an ongoing issue.
The other thing I will say, and you know, this is not to say that we wouldn't emphasize this, but you know, the district sanitation team is very keyed into the responsibilities about, you know, one, social distancing, but two, and they have been, is public drinking, making sure people, if they observe someone violating those rules, they're kind of told that they can't do these activities here and to ask them to continue on to somewhere else. And so that would be continued through this project as well.
And you've specifically had that discussion with the sponsor? I mean, so that they're aware of that?
What part of that, sorry?
Well, you said they own the story. So, you know, they're going to be promoting this on social media as Stella come to the Meatpacking District, see our exhibit, you know, our artwork. And, you know, I think that just in and of itself creates the circumstance that is confusing. And I'm just wondering how you're going to counter that, because that would seem to be the normal connection somebody might draw.
Okay, I think that, you know, from our discussions, we've really seen this as kind of this artistic expression in the neighborhood, a celebration of, you know, what's happening in the neighborhood, people coming back. being responsible about their activities and habits. We haven't had anything further with the kind of the sponsor about their, as we said, their kind of social media aspect or what they're promoting. But again, the other part of it is that we're really making it, it's not a promotional activity in what's happening. It's much more, it's there and people will come across it and see it through digital channels or just through buzz, but not like as a come on down and do these activities in this location.
I mean, I'm not trying to go back and forth, but the Independent article, the headline is "New Artwork from Shepherd's Ferry Encourages Socially Distant Drinking." I mean, that's just, that's
Okay.
the push that was there. And then the other article is "Street Artist Creates Outdoor Peace to Get People Drinking Again from a Safe Distance." I mean,
I understand. I think, and again, the cultural differences also make it so that what's relevant in the UK and versus here maybe play into how the messaging will be different in the US.
Great.
Joe, I have one more question if I can follow up.
Sure.
With what you're saying. And again, this relates to the fact that this is open to the public 7 days a week, 24 hours a week. What happens at night? Until what hour are the district security forces there to enforce no drinking on the plaza? What happens after dark? We've seen so much happening in the central parts of the village where people are drinking on the streets, which is unfortunate because we want our restaurants to succeed. What measures would be taken after dark as it gets later and later at night to prevent drinking on the plaza?
In the neighborhood, our public safety team is deployed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights to support the Open Streets Restaurants program as it's in place. They're there from 4 p.m. till 12 a.m., at which point the activity in the neighborhood really falls out through our experience in the restaurant program. So we haven't seen the late night drinking. I think that's surprising for the Meatpacking district, but this is the new neighborhood reality. The bars and clubs aren't open until 2 in the morning, spilling out. It's Serafina, it's Pastis, it's STK, it's Fig and Olive. These are much calmer than some of our previous tenants are, and so I don't think we're anticipating that issue. I mean, at the end of the day, at night, large disturbances, and this is the way the city is, are issues for NYPD, and they get resolved in the same way that a disturbance would get resolved in any other context for something happening in the Meatpacking district.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And I see no questions or comments from the public and no more from the committee. So thank you for presenting your application. And next we'll move on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next we'll move on to the Stone Island applications. There are 4 of them. They're all for a curb lane closure to park a production truck that will be projecting a commercial billboard type image for Stone Island, which is a clothing company that has a storefront in Soho, I believe. And the locations are the north curb lane of West Houston Street, the west curb lane of Bowery at 235 Bowery, the north curb lane of West Houston and Thompson Street, and the south curb lane of Kenmare and Elizabeth Street at 165 Elizabeth Street. And it's Mr. Elliot Winnick who's here to present on behalf of this application. Are you there, Mr. Winnick? 1 second and I'll move you up.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Are you there? Mr. Winnick?
Might take just a second for him to come up.
He's muted.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. I've been before the subcommittee many times in the past, and it is kind of weird to be on Zoom right now.
It's nice to have you or to talk to you again.
Yeah, I didn't have to travel this time. I have the sponsors also with me tonight, hopefully J.R. Scola and Andrew Barlow, and they can speak more on behalf of the content. This is not as complicated as it looks. We had 4 applications that we put in. Originally, when we were trying to negotiate permission from the various buildings and doing scouts, and it's not 4 trucks projecting simultaneously for 3 nights. It's 1 truck, period, that's projecting. And we wanted the flexibility for any of those sites based on negotiations. So
going from site to site.
it could stay in one site for 3 nights, or it can move from site to site based on what we get permission for. So it's not as complicated as it appears. And we numbered them 1, 2, 3, and 4, as you can see. The first site, which is West Houston Street, we're actually going to withdraw that permit application tomorrow. Technically, it doesn't work out because of a bus stop there and some trees in the way. So that already reduces about 1 site.
Oh, great. That will make some of people happy.
And site number 3, which is on Houston, around the corner from Thompson, we would amend that because right now Arturo's with the Italian restaurant has curbside dining right on that location. Wasn't there at the time when we first scouted it, but we would like to move that application literally just around the corner. So it's on the tip of Thompson, which actually lines up with that wall pretty well. So it'd be Thompson, the east curb lane between Houston and I think is it Bleecker or West 3rd, that's further north of that, whatever the next street is. But it's really just the 1 parking spot around the corner from Arturo's. Obviously, we can't be where Arturo's has their restaurant. And the other 2 locations would be fine. So it's basically a small box truck, single box truck with a projector on top and a small little hush power putt-putt generator next to it to power the projector. It's not a tow plant generator or anything large. It's the same type of thing you see on hot dog carts or food trucks. It doesn't really make any noise beyond the existing traffic noise. Stone Island, as you mentioned, is a fashion brand. The content of it's a video loop. It's showing their exhibition that happened in Florence, celebrating the 30th anniversary.
Like a fashion show?
It was a fashion show, or again, Andrew will talk to that better, whether it's I think it was an exhibition.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is Andrew Barlow from 6 Up Productions. And so the content is being amended slightly.
Okay.
We were showing an exhibition originally that was in Florence. There is some looks from the fashion brand, but in general, it's really just for brand awareness and then to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the brand.
And there's no prior promotion. It's not meant to be a congregate crowd event. It's whoever happens to be walking by to see it. And that's basically it. So it's not in no problems with the COVID guidelines, although we will abide by that for the crew that's there, obviously. It's a small crew of 1 or 2 people. And it's relatively simple. Again, we have permission from, we have 2 out of the 3 locations to project on their surface. As you know, especially Houston, there's billboards up and down that street already. So this is considered, outdoor advertising by the Department of Buildings, and is usually allowed per the zoning if there's billboards in that neighborhood.
Do the relevant building owners get paid to allow the billboard?
We are
in permission. I don't know, Andrew or JR, if they.
Yeah, so they've given us permission, and we are negotiating a small fee with each of the buildings to be able to project on one of them. So the one cost came in for Kenmare and Elizabeth around $3,000 they were asking for the duration of October 2nd through October 4th. So they were just going to charge $1,000 a day for that. And then obviously we would fall in line in terms of whatever timing is allowed to be able to project. Ideally, I think we were thinking of starting off around 6 p.m. and then ending around 10 or 11, but totally open for discussion on that as well.
There's still daylight at 6 p.m., so it probably wouldn't really work till about 7 or 7:30 as it gets darker, to be honest. Also, the client's going to capture this content to put it on some sort of digital platform. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yeah, so we will have the team that's actually handling our projections, JR, which is a team of 2, will be doing content capture as well. So that will just be some light video B-roll that it could potentially be used, as well as stills. And that would just really be pushed out on Stone Island social media channels via Instagram or Instagram stories.
And do you know where the storefront is for Stone Island?
pull it up real quick.
And again, we haven't made a final determination about which nights or which location or how they move it around. That's based on the negotiation. But again, it's only one truck at a time, unless you have more information, Andrew, on what you're doing.
So Stone Island is 41 Green Street. So that is.
Yeah, between Grand and Broome.
Yeah, it's further south in Soho. Yeah.
Green between Grand and Broome.
Right. Yep.
And I guess the building owner you haven't received permission from is that new one at Thompson and Bleecker, is it?
So the one location we're still waiting to get permission from is actually the new museum over on Bowery, 235 Bowery.
And they've been closed, so I guess communication's been difficult.
Yeah. So we've emailed them. I have a relationship with them, just producing events there in the past, obviously not recently, but we have emailed them, but I do not believe their doors open until the 15th of September. So we're kind of just hanging tight until then.
Have you worked with them before to project something onto their facade?
I have not personally, but JR on the call has, with a different production company.
For another commercial
yeah, Andrew, actually we've done projections there, but we did projections inside, so we've never even brought up the topic with the new museum to project on the outside. So yeah, we've been ringing them for the past couple of weeks, but it seems like nobody's there these days, and you know, they're opening on the 15th, so we'll try to get in touch for approval on that day. And I guess the idea is if we don't get in touch with them with enough time, or if we don't get permission from them, then we'll just go with one of the other two locations.
And thank you. Do you know what building on Thompson and, is it Thompson and Bleecker, did you say? What facade that is?
Yeah, it's Thompson and Houston, and it's on the south side of Houston. It's 154-152 Thompson. It's a residential building with two flat white walls that are facing Houston Street.
And I guess one of my main concerns is if all of our Soho businesses decided they wanted to do roaming projected billboards all throughout the neighborhood, and what kind of environment that would create for the residents and other businesses who are trying to survive in these times and don't have the access to finances to be able to project huge billboards onto empty buildings all around our neighborhood. Do you have anything to say to that concern?
I can answer a little bit. I mean, as you know, I'm a special event producer with virtually no work right now. So everybody's struggling to come up with something to keep in business and promote themselves. And I'm getting a lot of calls with very much way out ideas, which are mostly not feasible. This is just an attempt to try to do something right now. And I don't know about other businesses and what their plans are. Like this is Fashion Week this week. And I usually do a lot of work in fashion shows. It's all virtual. So everybody's struggling right now with how to, including restaurants, as you know, on how to maintain some sort of business profile.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and this is Andrew. I think I can speak to that just because I have, you know, an array of fashion clients, and obviously this is, you know, we're an event production company, so this has been an extremely challenging time for us at the agency. But what I think, you know, we've been trying to do is collectively with our clients brainstorm just creative ideas that, you know, were ideas that weren't gathering hordes of people like we normally would do in the past, and just kind of do some sort of more brand awareness moments that are more consumer driven, but kind of keep people moving on foot and not necessarily mingling or kind of staggering around, which was the idea for this. So it's strictly brand awareness. It's their 30th anniversary, so it gives them something to celebrate. But yeah, like I think Elliot said, it's just been a challenging time for events in general. So, you know, thinking about these types of activations with our client really has been the only way to continue to keep the lights on.
Right. I don't know if you all remember that there was that controversy over the roaming billboards that were in the Hudson and East Rivers for a time, and it really created a real conflict between almost all of the residents of New York City and these brands. So I guess the worry is that because of what we're experiencing with COVID, that somehow the residents and other businesses would be expected to endure these types of promotions just for the fact that there's a pandemic going on. And I don't know if that's, really the best trend we want to be setting for how business and how advertising will be moving forward. Depending on how long the pandemic ends, that seems to me a real concern.
Yeah, just to be clear, this is not a roving projection. It's going to be a static projection in each location. I remember the East River controversies and even LED trucks that would cruise the streets of Manhattan, which were actually a traffic issue at that time and distracting drivers. That doesn't really move. It just stays in one spot in a given night.
Right. And just something, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, Elliot, maybe you were mentioning as well to Andrew and I, you could probably speak to this more, but we were, of course, making sure that the sites that we're selecting are in zones that are zoned for, commercial billboards, advertisements too. It's not like a residential quiet street that we're intruding on. We're making sure, working with the mayor's office to make sure we're zoned properly as well.
And this is, low impact, no audio, pretty simple as it gets.
And just one worry too is that because a projection is something that you're not used to seeing driving around our neighborhood, that it could pull drivers' eyes. And already we're experiencing real safety issues with drivers going into these new sidewalk cafe installations. So then to be dealing with something pulling your eye away from your driving and all of the new street impediments that we're dealing with, it could create a real safety issue.
If I can speak to that, most of these buildings, I think all of these buildings, except the new museum, are set back, so it's not really in direct line of sight for the drivers, as opposed to, let's say, Times Square or any of the Madison Square Garden, all those new video billboards, which are in the driver's line of sight. These are perpendicular to how they're driving, and they are set back.
Thanks, Mr. Winnick. Michael Levine from the committee has a question.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I have two questions, really. The first question is, what is the size of the image that will be projected on the buildings? I may have missed that, but I'm trying to compare the size to existing billboards that we see on Houston Street. So how does it compare with that?
JR, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, there's a few of those really huge billboards right on Newton and Lafayette or Houston and Broadway. So they're actually quite a bit smaller than those, I would say, the two surfaces we're looking at right now. If anything, maybe almost as big as the ones that exist over on Houston and Broadway, but probably a bit smaller.
Do you have any estimate on the size?
That's a great question. I guess as far as an estimate goes, the location on Thompson and Houston is more of a vertical oriented surface. So we would just be fitting our rectangle of video within that vertical sort of surface. And I'd say that's about, I guess I'd say 20 feet wide by, 15 feet tall. And then the one down by Kenmare and Elizabeth is maybe more something like 40 feet wide by 30 feet tall, something like that.
You're in a landscape orientation, right? The video?
That's right. Yeah. 16:9 landscape.
So on a vertical surface, it becomes smaller.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a moving image, right? It's a short film almost. Do you know how long the duration of it is?
Yeah, so we're doing the editing now, and we're gearing for it to be roughly around 90 seconds.
I have a second question related to that. You mentioned that under the zoning, it is permitted as a billboard, which is an advertising sign. Did you need Department of Buildings approval, or is it just SAPO because it's a street activity? How many approvals were required here, just out of curiosity?
Pretty much SAPO for the truck. Department of Buildings weighs in if you want to have an exemption, but if it's allowed by right, which I've done on other jobs, but It's as of right, if it's as it's planned right now.
It's as of right under the current zoning, and
That's
it is
right.
not greater than the zoning would permit.
Yeah, if we wanted a waiver, which which has been done in other events, then it goes more to DOB. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's no landmarks approval because a few of these locations are in landmarked districts.
It's again, it's just light. It's if we glow a building, which we've done other times, that doesn't need any approval except for the projection of the lights. Where the lights are going to come from. And if it's not just in the code, if it's not of a commercial nature, there's no restrictions either. This is of a commercial nature, so it has to be allowed by existing zoning. It's
Thank you.
It's light. It's electrons. There's no. We're not fixing anything. We're not altering anything in the building. There's no issues that way.
But
projection
is
is kind of a weird category in New York City. It's a very gray area, and it's really not been dealt with well. But it's a lot of confusion about what it is.
I think that's one of my major concerns is that it is a gray area. So by allowing this to go forward, it would be giving tacit approval to this as an advertising method that residents and businesses in the neighborhood approve of. And I'm not sure that that's the case. I'm also worried that it might not alter the landmarked buildings, but it will alter people's experience of them, which is why landmark districts exist. All right, I'm just going to turn it to public comment, and we have Mr. Pete Davies. Are you there, Mr. Davies?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I just need clarification for Kenmare and Elizabeth. That would be the wall on the northwest corner facing Kenmare?
That's correct. Yep. Northwest corner facing Kenmare. Yep.
And 599 Broadway is no longer in the mix.
That's correct as well.
That's correct. That we're withdrawing that application.
And the reason that it's not in the mix is because it was rejected, or I'm asking because it seems that to do what you're asking, you would be projecting over an artwork there.
Well, there's the artwork, but we didn't even go that far. Where the projection truck would have to be is in the middle of a bus stop. With a little island there and the scaffolding on the sidewalk. So there's no real place to put the truck or projector. So we're not even pursuing that building or that artwork.
But you considered it, and that's why I'm concerned, because it seems in your mind it would be fine to project on top of the artwork.
Well, that would be up to the building to decide, but we're not pursuing that one, and we haven't.
Okay, and I would request that in the future, you just don't ever put it on your list. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Is there anyone else from the public here with comment?
Hey, Joe, I can't raise my hand, but I just wanted to follow up on what you had said. This particular area, especially along Houston, has a tremendous, not a tremendous, but a significant over time number of people illegally projecting. Not associated with anything. And just Joe had raised the point about, encouraging this encourages a significant increase in sort of rogue projections, including, to a point a couple of years ago, somebody was using a drone to lift up the projector to project and higher on some of the buildings. It even happened outside of my building. It was a little surprising, but that just seems like something that it would promote right now, since there are a lot of empty buildings and a lot of confusion, as Joe said, with a lot of what's going on the roadbed and the dining, et cetera. So it's particularly on Houston, it's a little.
Well, we obviously didn't go forward with the guerrilla activation, which I'm very familiar with people who do that. And if you know me, I avoid those. I try to do it by the book if I can.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that the applicants want to share?
I think that's it from our end.
Yep.
All right. We appreciate you applying and appearing tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the MOCA workshop and window exhibits. This is the launch of MOCA's window exhibits at 215 Center Street and 147 Lafayette Street, and the new collection space located at 3 Howard Street. This is happening from October 14th through October 19th. Is that applicant here? I don't think they are. All right, so just so everyone knows, when we have an applicant that doesn't appear on their application, we issue a recommendation for denial since we weren't able to hear any of the particulars of the application above and beyond what we see in the forwarded application from SAPO. Is there anyone here who has any comments on this application, or because I can take them for a resolution? And I don't see any hands raised.
Joe, I was just looking at this and I was surprised at the attendance numbers, which were 75 to 200 or 199.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that fit in, and it wasn't clear if they say they're not closing the street, but they're closing just about everything else.
Right.
Right, and it just didn't ring like it was in the spirit of
COVID restrictions.
Yeah, the COVID restrictions, and it's been very challenging, I think, for a lot of people. And I even though this is a little bit away, right? When was this? This was
October 12th, was it? October 9th.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a month away, but it's the numbers. It's going to be advertised. There's a red carpet, rope or stanchions.
I think this is, I mean, not that I don't want to read into there, but so MOCA lost most of their museum, but in that horrible fire. And
Right.
It seems like it's okay. Well, it's sad that we can't hear from them today, because it would be interesting to see how much their application is accurate. Because a lot of times I think they will put an estimate, not realizing, it might conflict with other aspects. But maybe we'll see. I mean, we'll do a resolution, but it's possible that they weren't aware or didn't get the email about the meeting tonight. So maybe we can lay it over.
And they've also got a food permit there for, it just sounds like this is more a much larger production.
And,
yeah. And you're probably right. There's angles we're not seeing, but it's just complicated. I mean, I think these are the types of things we really
need to hear from,
have a conversation about a little bit more, because, with all the various restrictions, it just doesn't seem particularly fair that, that this type of event would be allowed to occur and not others, and then this could be overwhelmed, and then what do we do?
Right.
Who forces that, or who deals with that?
All right, well then let's wait and talk about it in the business session. I don't think the applicant is here for our last agenda item, the tap out, the series of tap dance classes and open jam in place of indoor classes located at 154 Christopher Street, also inviting flamenco group across the street to participate. This is for October 18th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Is Tony Wag here or another representative? I don't believe so. All right. And no one is here to speak or provide comment on this application, I'm guessing. All right, well, we'll discuss this one right now when we go, or after we get to it in business session. So now we'll go into business session. As I said earlier, it's just the committee discussing all the applications we heard tonight. Welcome, everyone. So we'll start with the first application, which is for the Stella Artois mural. I do have concerns that it is confusing, like Carter pointed out, that we would be highlighting a mural that was used in London to encourage public drinking, yet that mural would lose that effect because it's in New York City rather than London. Anyone on the committee have any feelings about this? Feel free to just unmute yourself and speak, but just try not to speak when someone else is speaking.
Well, I have a concern that I raised, and that's because it is obviously geared toward eating and drinking. How do we know it's going to be happening in the plaza after dark as it gets later and later at night? Again, unfortunately, so much happen on the streets here in the heart of the village where our restaurants are closing at 11 o'clock, but people are remaining late, people are continuing to drink, people are taking drinks out into the street when they shouldn't be. And so my concern is what happens after the normal day is over and how much of this can the bid control? That's an issue.
Right. I mean, it's so interesting because there's, I mean, if the mural is going to be as, you know, muted from the London one is clear as she's holding a beer glass, and the one that they showed us, although it's not clear if that's even what's going to be the final product, since you know, there seems to be some inconsistency in the images they're using. But yeah, I think it's a valid concern, and you know, closing at midnight or having their team ending at midnight and then leaving it up to the NYPD to enforce any distancing or alcohol prohibition after that point is, you know, it doesn't. I think we all know that there's issues with the NYPD doing any sort of enforcement during this time. Okay, Brian.
Well, from what the presentation showed us was that it was artwork on a platform. The tables and chairs and the plaza is the same as it was before. It didn't stop anybody from congregating there before. This is not going to be some kind of a live event or anything like that to promote drinking or gathering any more than the plaza itself. I just don't see how this is negative, except it's an artwork, and it's enlivening the space, and the edge of the platform is just nothing different than a curb at the street.
And Susan?
Yeah, I want to second what Brian is saying, because what I took away from it was the idea that whatever you do in life these days, you have to socially distance. Even if it's doing something like drinking, which we think of as bringing people together, you still have a responsibility to do it. To do it responsibly now includes doing it with social distance. And I didn't take away from it the idea that you're encouraging people to drink, you're encouraging people to be responsible in this aspect of your life as you're trying to be in all others. So it's,
okay.
Yeah, that's just my view.
Anyone else with any comments?
Yeah, I just, you know, I live right there and I've been watching the plaza, and I've got to say it really hasn't been a problem late at night after the restaurants close. When there's been the pop-up music there, people have come in, but even then they're sort of sitting on the boulders that are there, which almost enforce people to stay distant. What my biggest concern is with this is having this 4-inch lip in the middle of the plaza, because people, I mean, kids go through there with their little scooters and stuff, and that's taking the whole southern end of the plaza and putting it up so that, you know, no matter where you're walking through there, you're going to have to step up and step down. I'm concerned about people tripping at night, and I honestly don't understand why they can't just put a wooden thing that just slopes around the whole thing so that there's not that hard edge to it. I'd feel much better with something like that, and that would make it accessible all over the place too, because that whole area to the sidewalk that they showed that Brian asked about, that's all level in there. So, you know, you're not going, except for now with this thing stuck in the middle of it. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, Brian, do you have a concern about that? Are you there still, Brian?
I'm sorry. I thought about that, and it would be nice if it was tapered, but like I say, it's sort of like the curb at the street. I don't know how to alert people to, well, it's going to be colorful. Maybe I'm hoping that the color contrast will alert people to the fact that there would be a little step, a little curb there. You know, and it is, yes, I don't know, it's not perfect, but it is something that is allowed without railings by code. You just have to have those access ramps for anyone in a wheelchair.
Linda, did you have something to say?
Yeah, my concern is the 4 inches around the side. I think it should be painted, you know, something bright. I was looking at what they had in London. And possibly that either that orange or yellowish or whatever, just so that people can see that there definitely is something there.
Yeah, I agree. That edge has to be, maybe even reflective tape for nighttime visibility.
And Rocio.
Yeah, actually, I do have a lot of concerns about this application. I think that it is an advertisement, whether you want to admit it or not. It's subliminal advertising, and it's just disturbing to me that I don't think that it's more of a commercial, although they're posing it as a artwork, which is fine. It's art, but it's really advertising their product, and I'm always not in favor of these kinds of us allowing this advertisement to go on. And I feel that it is asking people to, telling people, well, people will know because they're going to push on social media what exactly it is. It's regarding what they did in London and how successful it was there and people drinking outside. So, I mean, we all go through a lot of problems trying to make sure that our customers as restaurateurs know what the law is, and we try to follow it. And so why would we be endorsing something like this, which is really an advertisement, whether it's obvious to some of you, but it's obvious to me. I don't know. That's all. I will be voting against this one. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Does anyone else have anything to say?
You know, I was going to follow up on what Rocio said, Joe, and, you know, that they said that the benefit to Stella is owning the social media campaign for this. And it's very clear what that social media campaign was in London. And we did not hear an alternative, you know, message here that was clear and succinct. In fact, if anything, they danced around it and just said, oh, it's a pretty image. I'm sure that this is a paid promotional endeavor with the Meatpacking District. I'm not sure why Stella would promote this out of just some sort of planned generosity. You know, I mean,
and they haven't spoken to, you know, Serafina, Sweetgreen, these businesses that are right nearby.
And it's something, you know, only just truly in the last few weeks has the city sort of settled down with the restaurants, and where we do have people conducting themselves in a manner that's much more acceptable, I think, across the board in our community, that people are much more comfortable. I think there's a lot less complaints being made about licensed premises, about their activities. So we seem to have found a little balance here where, you know, we're all awaiting the next phase of maybe indoor dining. And this seems to kind of challenge that if there's not some sort of an alternate messaging that this is being promoted with. And that's something I think for us is where we have, I think the highest number of outdoor dining restaurants in our community board of density wise, that we just need to be a little cautious of. This isn't a joke. It's something that's very serious. You know, suddenly we had people filling up our parks and drinking, which just happened. I don't know if any of you saw the news articles in Washington Square Park with the kids from NYU. I mean, it's just, it's sort of setting a tone. And I think absent some other understanding what their messaging is, I think it's very difficult to endorse. And without a firm commitment from them in that social media message that drinking's not allowed on the plaza, I think it's difficult to get behind. They had the opportunity, I guess is what I'm saying, to convince us otherwise, and we didn't hear anything.
All right, I'll take a vote if everyone is ready. And I'm just going to go through the committee that are present. So if you could unmute yourself to vote on the application. Rocio is a no.
No. Well, I drink my rosé wine.
Not a froze. All right, Linda Azer.
Yes, but with our stipulations.
Right, about more safety protocols for the curb, correct?
And clarity on the advertising.
Okay. Brian Pape.
That would be a yes with the same stipulations.
All right. Edma, are you there?
Yes, I would know.
All right. Michael Levine.
I would vote yes, but I would ask for one stipulation. I know they said that there are regulations in DOT plazas, no drinking on the plaza, but I would like to see in the approval, if we do recommend approval, that we say something about additional signage saying that drinking is not permitted in the plaza at all times to reinforce that message.
All right.
So I'm voting yes with stipulation.
Thank you. Susan Kent.
Yes, and to add to Michael's, it would be great if the signage said, this is not encouraging drinking in the plaza.
Okay.
That's good.
And let's see, Ritu, are you there?
Pictures here.
Muted.
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Ritu. Did you have a position, yes or no, on the Gansevoort Stella Artois mural?
I am against it.
All right. I think that's everyone except me. I'm voting no. Oh no, we have a tie. And let's see, I think that is everyone, right? Donna's not on our committee. Yeah, if we have a tie, we don't have a position.
You don't have a position. That's
Great.
it.
We'll let the full board decide. All right, and now let's.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm sorry, Joe, question for you. When you bring it to the full board, would you mention all of the possible stipulations that the committee considered while it was discussing it, even though we had a tie?
Definitely.
To see if the full board agrees, if they recommend approval, if they agree to the stipulations.
Absolutely.
The narrower you can present it, the better.
Right.
And let's see, the Stone Island. So we're only considering 3 of them: the Kenmare and Elizabeth Street, the Thompson and Houston, and the new museum, which they don't even have permission from the new museum yet. And they withdrew the Broadway at Houston. So now I'll go in the opposite direction to take some of the pressure off of some of our earlier members. Let's see, Ritu, do you have a position on this one? It's the projections onto the building facades in 3 different locations for a fashion brand.
Yeah, I am against it. I vote no.
And Miss Brian Pape?
All right. I don't see much value in it, so I'm going to vote no.
And Rocio?
No.
And Edma?
No.
Let's see, Linda Azer?
No.
Ritu? Oh no, I did Ritu. Susan Kent?
No.
I vote no. I think that's... Was that everyone?
No, Michael.
Oh, Michael, yes.
I'm going to vote no also, and then again, I'm going to say my reason is that this is purely a billboard advertising sign, and I don't think it belongs on the side of buildings when so many other establishments and businesses are paying a lot of money for billboard advertising, and this one is relatively inexpensive, so I would vote no.
Great, thank you.
It's very similar to the other one on the Gansevoort Plaza. One is on the floor and the other one on the building. So
I know, and
both of them.
Exactly, and interesting that these are the first applications we're getting are for large-scale advertising projects throughout the district. And let's see, so the next two will vote no on both since there was a no appearance, and I'll highlight some of the issues that we talked about for the MOCA. And I forget, what's the last one? Oh yeah, the tap out. Okay, right. Unless anyone else has anything to say for those, I'll just do.
I had a clarification on the projection on the new museum site. The new museum is not in CB2.
Oh, right, it's on the other side of Bowery, yeah.
But the projection site is in CB2, so I wasn't sure which
well, I think
where that
in the
question.
In the past, we've considered things on the south side of Canal. I think Bob said that it's custom that if it's straddling two different boards, each board is, you know, welcome to weigh in on it in their own. So I'll point that out for in the resolution for the Bowery Street one.
And,
all right, great.
You know,
yeah.
So those projections, have you guys had more of a standing position on those?
I think this is our only second one where we've actually had the applicant come and we voted no, I believe. But I'll have to go back and look, and I can cite that resolution in our resolution for these.
Because I've seen projections on all those sites before, but I assume that they're all.
Yeah, we didn't hear them. Yeah,
right.
They're all Gorilla. Yeah. Well, great. Anyone else? Any? Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see or hear everyone. I'm sorry I was not on video.
Okay. Joe,
yes.
we also used to address health issues.
Health. We're doing we're doing environment. The social services committee that Susan Aronson heads.
Okay.
She does. Yes, she does those. But I'm not sure when their next meeting is. But you're welcome. If you have Susan's email, you can email her with any concerns. She's really receptive to hearing from the community.
Great, thank you.
And it's, yeah, sure. All right. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carter.